Last week, we talked about how normal labs don't give you the full picture. And today, we're going deeper. Because as a practitioner, it's my job to ask the question, why are the markers off in the first place? What's driving that? Magnesium doesn't just disappear. Vitamin D just doesn't drop. Thyroid functioning doesn't just quietly deteriorate. Something is driving it. And that something, or some things more accurately, are what nobody's looked at yet. And today, we start to look. I'm Erica Christine, and this is the Midlife Health Detective, where we translate your symptoms into clues your body is giving you. No hype, no false promises, just real answers. If you missed last week's video, I'll link it at the end, but you won't need it to follow along today. In functional medicine, we often talk about hidden stressors. Not just the way that you think about it in terms of your job, your boss, your inbox, relationship, your in-laws, your kids. These are the underlying physiological stressors that no one seems to talk about. These hidden stressors are biological. They're operating underneath the surface quietly, systematically. About 4 places they often show up, and the things I tend to focus on every time when I'm working with a new client. Hormones, immune system, digestion, and gut health, and detoxification. Not as separate problems, as a conversation. Because here's what I know after years of following these clues. When one of these systems is under stress, it puts pressure on all the other systems. That's why if you've tried addressing one thing, it hasn't held. Because it's never just one thing. So let's look at each one. And more importantly, let's talk about what it's actually telling you about how your body is functioning right now. If you're here on this channel, you already know that your hormones are changing. Estrogen is declining, progesterone probably dropped first, and testosterone is quietly tanking too. But here's what I want you to understand behind those numbers. Estrogen is not just a reproductive hormone. It's an infrastructure that supports serotonin production, which affects your mood and your sleep. It supports acetylcholine, which affects your memory and focus. It stabilizes the blood sugar, which affects your energy and your weight. It protects your gut lining. It modulates your immune system. It supports bone density, cardiovascular health, and skin integrity. And when estrogen declines, all of those systems feel it at the same time. Progesterone is your calming hormone, your neuroprotective hormone. It dropped before estrogen did. That's the hallmark of early perimenopause. And when it drops, anxiety climbs, sleep deteriorates, and your nervous system loses its buffer. Not just because of the drop or change in hormones, because the drop in them removes the buffer that they provide and reveals what's hiding underneath. Testosterone in women is almost never talked about, but it does drive energy, motivation, muscle maintenance, libido, and cognitive sharpness. When it quietly disappears, so does a version of yourself that you once used to know. So when I look at hormones, I'm not just looking at numbers or levels, I'm asking, what is this level of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone actually doing in every system that depends on them? And what are the drops revealing about the health of the systems underneath? That's the clue, not just the decline, but what the decline is helping to reveal or drive upstream. And you've also heard about getting to the root cause. Sometimes we may never find the root cause or causes because they all tend to cycle. We can't look at just one thing in isolation. So we keep asking, what's driving that? How do we get further? We keep going further and further and further upstream to look at the source rather than just focusing downstream on the actual symptoms and treating those. So now let's talk about the immune system. And most people think of our immune system as fighting off an illness, a cold, or a virus. But it's not just there to fight infections. It is a real-time report card on how your body is coping with everything it's being asked to manage. So one of the early markers that I look at in immune functioning is what you have 100% control over. I'm not just jumping straight into autoimmunity or disease. That's not my area. But I'm asking simpler questions first. What is your immune system doing right now based on how you're eating, how you're sleeping, how stressed you are, and what's happening right in your gut? One of the markers that I focus on is something called Secretory IgA, or SIgA for short. It is your first line of defense in your gut, in your respiratory tract, and in your mucosal surfaces. When SIgA is low, your barrier is down. Your immune system is depleted, usually from chronic stress, poor sleep, nutritional deficiency, or a period of active fighting that's gone on for a while. Your body is running on empty, and that first line of defense is depleted. When SIgA is high, your immune system is actively fighting something. It can be an infection, a food reactivity, a pathogen, chronic inflammation. It's working overtime. Either way, it's a clue, not a diagnosis. A clue about what your immune system is being asked to manage that nobody has accounted for yet. And nutrition comes into play here more than almost anything because a depleted immune system is often a depleted body. Undereating, poor food quality choices, missing nutrients, or a gut that isn't able to pull the nutrients out of its food, your immune system reflects all of that. Now let's talk about digestion. And we're going straight to the gut. But hear me out. Your gut is not all about digestion, and I need you to hear that. Your gut is where 70% of your immune system lives. It's where most of your serotonin is made. It's where hormones get cleared or don't. And the last part is critical because almost nobody talks about it. When you metabolize estrogen, your liver packages up for elimination. It moves into the gut for excretion. But if your gut microbiome is out of balance, specifically if an enzyme called Beta-Glucuronidase is elevated, it unwraps those packaged estrogens and sends them right back into circulation. And that's a clue that your estrogen is what we call recycling. Your body already processed the estrogen, it already tried to eliminate it, and your gut sent it right back. And that's not a minor detail. Your hormone picture is being directly affected by what's living in your gut. Beyond that, a compromised gut lining means that things that should stay in your gut, or what essentially becomes your own sewer, get out into your bloodstream. Bacterial fragments, undigested food particles, they trigger immune responses. They drive inflammation. They cross the blood-brain barrier and contribute to brain fog. Your bloating, your food reactivities, your growing list of foods that you can't seem to tolerate anymore. Those aren't random, they're clues, and the GI map is how we read them. Now let's talk about detox. Your liver has two jobs when it comes to hormones: break them down and clear them out. If either phase of the process is impaired, hormones recirculate, toxins recirculate, and your body keeps reprocessing what it was supposed to eliminate. Urinary bile acids give us a window into how well that clearance is actually working. Not whether your liver is diseased, but whether it's functioning optimally, whether it's keeping up with the demand that's been placed on it. Because here's the thing, your liver is managing hormones, medications, environmental toxins, alcohol, processed food, and byproducts of chronic stress, all at once, every day. And when it is overwhelmed, even subclinically, the downstream effects show up in symptoms: weight that won't move, hormonal imbalance, fatigue, skin issues, and even inflammation. Not disease, dysfunction, operating below capacity in a way that makes everything else harder. So we just walked through hormones, immune system functioning, digestion, and detoxification at a very superficial level. But you need to know that these aren't four separate problems. They're four systems in constant conversation with one another. You can kind of think of it as like a big group text where everyone keeps replying. Your hormones affect your gut lining. Your gut affects your immune system. Your immune system drives inflammation. Inflammation impairs thyroid conversion. Cortisol depletes magnesium. Magnesium affects sleep. Poor sleep dysregulates cortisol. and cortisol suppresses progesterone production. It's a loop. And when multiple parts of the loop are under stress simultaneously, which is exactly what happens in perimenopause, the whole system feels it. And that's why if you've tried to attack one symptom at a time, it just hasn't worked because you can't treat things in isolation. That's why finding your specific drivers matters more than following someone else's protocol. Here's what I want to leave you with. You are not broken. You are not beyond help. You are not just getting older. And however you're feeling does not have to be your new normal if you don't want it to be. You are a woman whose systems have been under hidden stress, probably for longer than you realize or care to admit. And now you're starting to get the clues that will help you put together your own map. Not somebody else's map, the beginning of yours. The labs I use to read these clues, the stress and hormone panel or Dutch, the GI map, these aren't exotic. They're just asking better than what a standard panel asks because they're looking for dysfunction of health, not disease. So if you missed last week's video on why normal labs aren't telling you the whole story, the link is below. Start there. Starting to make sense or piquing your curiosity, subscribe because we are just getting started on the road that shows you how to take back your power and reclaim your health. And I will see you in the next one.